students, welcome to your week 2 critique. This is image design, and this week you did some colorizing in GIMP and created a brand new world that was very cool. So let's go ahead and let's get started on our critique. Sorry. Um, First, I want to say Happy Veterans Day, and we're very thankful for all of the people who have served and given their lives for this wonderful freedom that we experience. And here is our agenda. So the first thing that you'll want to do is open up your critique quiz. You will do that by going into the image design class, clicking on content, and then going down into the week 2 folder. You'll notice that the week 2 critique is right there, and you can right click, or you could just go ahead and open it up since, well, yeah, you'll need to right click on it and open it in a new window because there's going to be a video of this posted here, and you'll want to watch the video in one window and do the critique in another window. And it looks like I opened it in a new tab on accident, so I'm going to go ahead and open it in a new window. And then you can go ahead and get your quiz started. Remember, in this class, all of the quizzes can be retaken, so if you don't do well the first time, you can give it another try. So what you would want to do is have your video open in one window and have your critique questions open another window so that you can complete your quiz at the same time as watching this video. Okay, we're also going to discuss the Friday bell ringer, go over the Utah State Standards for Visual Arts so you all know the direction that you should be heading in, discuss the elements and principles of design. We'll talk about what a critique is and what a critique is not, and then we will critique all of the student work submissions and vote for a winner. This week's critique will be a little bit longer than normal simply because it'll be our first critique, and I want to make sure I go over everything carefully so that in the following critiques you'll have a deep understanding of what the purpose is. So we're going to start talking about the Friday bell ringer, and so I'm just curious if you could rate yourself on your ability to write an effective claim. I noticed a lot of people turning in those claims from the last Friday bell work. Woohoo, good job. So quickly rate yourself. Good job. Okay, so let's look at what the prompt was. It said, should an artist get permission before copying a photo that was taken by somebody else? It should only be one sentence long. So let's look at this first one. Should you get permission before copying a photo? Yes, yes, and yes. Not doing so is against the law. However, if you are changing a photo or editing it, then at that point it is fair use and you have every right to use that said photo. So as you can see, that is not one sentence, but that doesn't mean it's a total waste. You could use it to start a body paragraph or use it within your body paragraph. So there's great ideas there that still can be used, just not as your claim. Next, an artist should get permission before doing anything with someone else's photo. So there we have the argument stated, and you'll notice up here it kind of follows the prompt verbatim. And next we're going to have the evidence, because otherwise they would be infringing on the person who owns the photo's copyright. And they were able to put it all in one sentence. So good claim. Next, do not answer the prompt with a yes, no, or I think. Remember, you've got to state that argument clearly. So when it says yes, because why should you take someone else's work for your own, or yes, you should get permission, these really, in essence, plus this one's a question, but these ones really, in essence, are opinions and not arguments. So make sure that you're restating that prompt, forming that argument. An effective claim clearly states the argument. Also, the other thing to notice about this one, no painting a photograph you see on the internet should not be called plagiarism. The reason I have that highlighted is because you'll notice in our prompt, it doesn't say anything about plagiarism up there, right? So this is already taking a leap. It didn't ask if it should be called plagiarism. It asked, should an artist get permission before copying a photo? So it needs to say, as you'll see in the example below, an artist should an artist rewrite it as a statement, an artist should get permission before copying a photo that was taken by someone else. So there it is. The argument is clearly stated. And then the student uses because to link that argument with the evidence. Because it is what is ethically right and fair, and if they didn't, that would be considered stealing. So good argument. Good claim. An effective claim provides evidence to support the argument. So if you'll notice this example, it says, yes, you should get permission before taking someone else's artwork, but it doesn't have any reasons. There isn't evidence. And the same with this next one. An artist should get permission before copying a photo that was taken by someone else and make it their own. Well, why? So we need to know. This is stating the argument's position, right? But it is not providing the evidence to make it a complete claim. Let's look at this last example. Artists should get permission before copying a photo that was taken by someone else in order to avoid stealing and plagiarism. So does this look like a complete claim? Yes. It states the argument clearly and it has supporting evidence. An effective claim should stay focused, specific, and relevant. So an artist should be able to paint a creative picture or photograph he or she desires. A person should not have to get permission to express their free speech. If they are making a profit off it, then there might be argument, but otherwise people should be able to create whatever they want. People have the right to express themselves and to create any art they desire. Okay, so although this is an excellent piece, that certainly does belong in the paper and would probably do really well in one of the body paragraphs. As a claim, remember it needs to stay very focused, specific, and relevant. So you want to really tighten it up. Okay, so let's look at this next example. Artists should get permission before copying a photo that was taken by someone else, and here's that focused, specific, and relevant evidence in order to avoid stealing and plagiarism. So it's very simple, very straightforward, okay? Very concise. That's what we're looking for. We should be able to pull up the paragraph, the first paragraph of an argument paper, and we should be able to identify the writer's claim easily. So let's practice rewriting this claim. As copying something is illegal, an artist should get permission and credit the original photographer. So just take a second real quick on your computer, jot it down. How would you rewrite this claim so that it was complete? You can pause the video. The first thing you're going to want to do is state the argument clearly. So it should say an artist should get permission before copying a photo that was taken by someone else, because you need to restate this. Should an artist get permission? An artist should get permission before copying a photo that was taken by someone else, before copying a photo that was taken by someone else. So pull it directly from the prompt. And then remember, when you add that evidence, to stay focused. Okay, so here we go. Because copying someone else's work without permission infringes on the original artist's copyrights and ownership of their intellectual property. That's just my example. Okay, go back to this beginning part where it says copying something is legal. So we could rewrite this as an artist should get the permission because copying is illegal. How about that? So that would work too. There's never one way to do it. Those are just some examples. So what is this claim missing? An artist should try to get permission before copying a photo that was taken by someone else. If they can't get permission or don't have a way to contact the person that took the photo, then the artist should make sure that they give credit for the photo to the person who took it. So what's missing in here? Read it closely. It's pretty lengthy and detailed, isn't it? But this claim is still missing the evidence, okay? And so basically it's missing the evidence because it's saying what to do if you can't get the permission, okay? It's not giving evidence as to why you need to get permission. It's telling what to do if you couldn't. So that's why. Do you know how to use a semicolon? Okay, so I notice a lot that students have some difficulty putting two ideas together to form a sentence. So I wanted to talk about using a semicolon. Okay, it joins two independent clauses. So I just kind of giggle because I'm sure that plenty of you probably don't know what an independent clause is, but you know, I learned it in high school and I've never forgotten it. So anything that could stand alone independently as a sentence is an independent clause. So the way that you can tell if something's an independent clause is just to read it out loud and see if it's a sentence, a complete thought that makes sense. So is this an independent clause? An artist should get permission before copying a photo that was taken by somebody else. Yes, it can stand alone as a sentence. We put a capital and period at the end and read it out loud. It's a sentence. It makes sense. It's a complete thought. Could this stand alone as a sentence? Using someone's photo without permission is copyright infringement. So if we go ahead and add our punctuation, capital letter at the beginning, period at the end, yes, it could stand alone as a sentence. It's an independent clause. So if we put those two together, an artist should get permission before copying a photo that was taken by someone else. And using someone's photo without permission is copyright infringement. Two independent clauses together. Can we just put them together using a comma? No, because they're two independent thoughts and they need to be standing alone as sentences, right? So no. But there are a few ways that we could correct this, okay? So you can add a period and capitalize the second sentence. So this is what we saw happening before, where they're just treated like two separate sentences, right? But there's another way that we can work with this issue. We could also add a comma and the conjunction because, right? So an artist should get permission before copying a photo that was taken by somebody else because using someone's photo without permission is copyright infringement. And I think that most of us are pretty savvy with that sentence structure right there and are pretty capable of using it. Okay, but the semicolon does another option for us. We can just take those two independent clauses that would normally stand alone as sentences and we can join them together with a simple semicolon. When you do that, you don't want to capitalize the using, okay, because now it's part of the same sentence, okay? So let's read it. An artist should get permission before copying a photo that was taken by somebody else. Using someone's photo without permission is copyright infringement. So the two thoughts are closely linked enough that that second concept is really just emphasizing the first. So let's go ahead and take a look at those three sentences, the way that they're punctuated, and I just want you to think about which one do you find to be most succinct? Like, which one would you use? Okay, now obviously if you're writing a claim, the first one's not an option, right? Because it's got to be one sentence. You've got to pick this one or that one. But just in general terms, if you were just using these sentences in a paragraph, you could certainly use them separately. But when you are trying to create some variety in your sentences, that's when having this other tool, the semicolon, can help you to do that, okay? But just don't overuse it. I also wanted to show you a non-example of using a semicolon, so you would not want to do this. An artist should get permission before copying a photo that was taken by somebody else. Painting a picture takes a lot longer than just snapping a picture. So why wouldn't you use a semicolon here? Well, because these are two totally different ideas, okay? Painting a picture takes a lot longer than snapping a picture does not really emphasize this point, does it? It's kind of an idea that's just like, whoa, that's a little out there. Maybe that could come into play at some point in a paper, but it doesn't belong in my claim, right? So use a semicolon to join these two independent clauses and form a sentence. You can go ahead and pause the video right now and think about how that would look. Okay, and so now that it is a complete sentence, okay, so I've placed my semicolon here, it's a complete sentence. Is it an effective claim? So let's read it for comprehension and find out. An artist should try to get permission before copying a photo that was taken by someone else. If they can't get permission or don't have a way to contact the person that took the photo, then the artist should make sure that they give credit for the photo to the person who took it. So is it an effective claim? We kind of covered this one already, so I just wanted to check to make sure that you got it. It's not a claim because remember, That second clause didn't provide any evidence to support that argument in that first clause. It simply says what to do if this artist can't get permission, okay? So that's why it wasn't an effective claim. So remember, an effective claim states the argument clearly, and it provides focused, specific, and relevant evidence, and we have a winner this week. This was the best claim submitted. Artist should get permission before copying a photo that was taken by someone else in order to avoid stealing and plagiarism. Very simple, very specific, relevant, focused, concise, clear. I could find that in the opening paragraph of an argument paper easily. So now that the lesson's complete, I know that was a lot. Hopefully you were able to hang in there with me mentally. Do you feel more confident about writing a claim? So rate yourself. And I did use your student examples, and I want to thank you for making mistakes. That might have felt embarrassing, but we all learn from mistakes, okay? So if you'd all written perfect claims for me, how would the people who weren't writing perfect claims have anything to learn? So a life of mistake making is a life of learning. Just remember not to keep making the same mistakes over and over. Learn from them. So the goals for this Friday's bell ringer, okay. 100% of the students who complete this critique will write an effective claim. So that's what I'm hoping for. We want to practice the KISS strategy, and that is to keep it super simple, okay? As Leonardo da Vinci, I guess. I'm not sure if he actually said this or not, but I did Google and find that somewhere believes that Leonardo said simplicity is the ultimate sophistication. It does sound like something he might say, but I don't really know. I didn't check my sources, so I wouldn't trust me. Rules with Friday bell ringers. Okay, so here's what to think about with those Friday bell ringers. One, you need to write only one sentence, okay, to get credit. Two, you need to clearly state your argument, okay? So take whatever that prompt is and use that prompt verbatim to write your argument. Provide evidence, okay? Be very concise, focused, specific, okay? And then bell ringers will only be open for 1 week, okay? So these bell ringers are going to close out after the week. You won't be able to go back and do them. So make sure at some point in the week that you do get your bell ringers done. There won't be any makeups after they're closed, okay? And the reason why is because just the logistics of these Google documents, it's really just not easy for me to go in every single day to Google Docs and go, okay, did anybody submit one today? You know, I can't do that week after week after week. So I'm going to have to hold you guys to this really high standard of getting those bell ringers done within the week to get your credit. So here's what we've done with the agenda so far, and remember you're taking that critique quiz as you watch the video. So let's talk about the Utah State Standards for Visual Arts. Okay, so there are 4 standards. Standard 1 is making, 2 is perceiving, 3 is expressing, 4 is contextualizing, okay? Making, students will assemble and create visual art by manipulating art media and by organizing images with the elements and principles. Now, in the week 2 lesson, you all learned about the elements of art and principles of design. Okay, so that's why I had you learn them, because you're going to have to be able to incorporate them into your art. Objective A, explore, understand, refine techniques. So remember, when I grade your work, I leave feedback. So you might have to do some refining and resubmit to me. That is just a part of being an artist. And objective B, create visual art using art elements and principles. So you guys are starting on that making process already. You'll be having an assignment every other week. So good times, good times. You'll have your next assignment next week. Perceiving. So perceiving is perception. That is when you perceive things through your 5 senses, right? You perceive the things that you see through your eyes. You perceive feeling through your fingertips or your heart, right? And you perceive sound through your ears. You perceive, what else? Taste through your taste buds, and smell through your nose. So all of that perceiving is basically drawing in the stimulus from outside, okay? So when you do that, going beyond just the senses, but finding meaning, okay, by analyzing, criticizing, and evaluating the visual art. So objective A, critique visual art. So that's what we're doing right now. And objective B, to evaluate visual art. So we'll talk about what evaluation is. Expressing. So the students not only will take the information in, be responsible for understanding what other artists are trying to say to them, but you're responsible for actually creating meaning, okay? Creating content. Content is substance, okay? And you need to understand how your content is going to be perceived, all right? And then curating is when we can order art by the medium or the content. So everything that we're doing in this class is the medium GIMP. That won't be a surprise. But content will be a little bit different. Like this week, you did some colorization. So that was kind of like part of the content. Did you create an unexpected experience for your viewer? We'll find out. The next is contextualizing. So you guys all have heard your teacher say, what is the context? You know, or can you figure out what this word means by the context of what was written around it? And so context, it's just not going to disappear. Students will find meaning in visual arts through settings and other modes of learning, okay? So you might need to align works of art, or as you're creating works of art, you know, make it in the context of something historical. Make it in the context of some geographical place that you're inspired by. Lots of artists have done that. Make it in the context of your personal experience, okay? Synthesize, put together all of these different ideas that you get from all of the educational subjects that you study, the books that you read, the conversations that you have with people who are interesting. Okay, synthesize all of that. Figure out how to put that all together, not only to interpret and find the meaning of other people's work, but when you're creating your own work. Okay, you need to be able to evaluate the impact of visual art on life outside of school. So be thinking about that. How would this piece of artwork that I'm making have an impact on the world if perhaps, let's say, it suddenly was posted on every billboard sign across America? That kind of a thing. Okay, so be thinking about the type of impact your message can have. This is deep stuff, I know. So remember, your goal as an artist is to achieve all 4 of these standards in each of the works of art that you create. That's why I'm teaching these standards to you. I want you to rise to a higher level. Put some thought into your art. How can you inspire your viewer to think and see things differently? Can you research a topic that interests you? Formulate a powerful message and communicate that in your artwork. Do something completely unexpected. Show us what you know. Make us go, whoa, I wasn't expecting that. That's just the best feeling when you go and look at art and all of a sudden you see things in a totally different way. And it's inspiring to think, wow, that person's mind is just brilliant. And you all have a brilliant mind. So let's look at the elements of design. You studied these already this week, so I'm not going to go into great detail because you already have, but I just want to put them in front of your attention again so that you can see those one more time. Okay? And what is a critique? So a critique is a 4-step critical thinking process. Did you hear that? Say it. Repeat it after me. It's a 4-step critical thinking process. And the 4 steps are, and I should have these numbered instead of bulleted. Number 1 is description, and that's just saying what you see. What medium is it? It's digital art. What is it a picture of? It's a picture of the ocean with a sailboat. Just basic what you see. The analysis, step 2, analysis. This is where you're going to go a little deeper and you're going to analyze it for those elements and principles of design that you learned about this week. And interpretation, step 3, this is where you go in and you look for that message or the context within which this artwork has a message. And then step 4 is evaluation. So this I generally like to think of evaluating an art piece as thinking about whether or not the artist was successful. Did the artist successfully use those elements and principles to create interest or hold your attention? Did the artist successfully convey a message? Did the artist successfully provoke thought by creating a work that speaks within the context of an educational, historical, political, or personal issue? These are the things that truly make art, right? So let's talk about what a critique is not, okay? It's not saying that something's pretty or ugly or I like it or don't like it. These are value words, okay? We are all certainly entitled to our opinions and we're human, but the purpose of a critique is to help the artist to develop or improve his or her craft. Okay, so we need to be constructive, not to decide whether we think something's pretty or ugly. All right, so let's take a quick look at the week one assignment, colorizing. Okay, it was worth 100 points, and the rubric explained how to earn those points. So if you have not turned that in, you'll want to take a look at that. Pause the video now. And let's just practice going through the steps of the critique, okay? Step one is description, step two, analysis, three, interpretation, and four is evaluation. Let's do them. So for description, all right, so the medium used is GIMP, a photo manipulation software program. I see a surreal world where the trunks of trees are blue, foliage is lavender colored, and skies are peachy. Okay, that's just a basic, superficial description of what I'm seeing in this artwork. Let's go a little deeper and analyze this artwork. Let's talk about the elements of art. I'm just going to pick a couple elements, color and space, that really stand out to me. So obviously the artist uses color to create an unexpected imaginary world, right? And the artist uses space. The artist has colorized at least three different parts of space separately, right? So we've got colorization in that space, this space, the tree space, and if we look at the reflection of the water, the reflection is the same color as that peachy sky, so we know that this has been colorized differently. The principles of contrast, the principles of design, excuse me. So remember, the elements are the building blocks and the principles are the way that we use those building blocks together to create effects like contrast. So the blue color of the tree, the main object, contrasts with that light peachy color in the sky and with that lavender field. So that really helps. The color choices really helped to create some contrast so that tree would stand out. Unity. The artist has chosen colors that complement each other really well, which creates a sense of harmony and unity. This feels like kind of a peaceful place that we could visit. The interpretation. So remember, this is what you're interpreting the meaning to be. So the artist's intention is to celebrate how exciting it is that we have technology at our fingertips that allows us to express the world we see in our imaginations and share it with others. That is one of the cool things about technology today. And that's not necessarily the artist's only message. That's just my interpretation, and I may have more than one. Evaluation. Was the artist successful? The artist successfully used color to create an idyllic world that intrigues the viewer and makes the viewer wish he or she could step inside the canvas, right? So here's a bonus question for you. Do you know what idyllic means? Well, this brings me to my shameless plug for vocabulary.com. This is my favorite vocabulary site. It's like a dictionary. You can type in any word, and it gives delightful definitions like a week at the beach that goes perfectly is an idyllic vacation. Idyllic means so wonderful, it seems almost magical. Are you having an idyllic childhood? You may not think so now, but in your old age, you may remember your days as a youngster as simple and carefree. The clear blue water of the Caribbean Sea, the beautiful village perched on a cliffside, the sunny grassy field of wildflowers. These are all idyls, simple, peaceful scenes that you may or may not find idyllic. And then, of course, it led my research to the word idle, and I wasn't sure. I haven't heard of that word before. An idyll is a short period in which everything is wonderful. You could say a cruise you took with your family was an idyll in an otherwise difficult year. In its more formal sense, idyll describes a pastoral interlude or a poem set in nature. An idealized or idyllic version of nature where you are drinking champagne under the apple trees and no one has stepped in cow manure or walked through poison ivy. So I also decided, well, I don't even think I've ever read an idle poem. Maybe I have. I don't remember. So I'm just like learning. I'm like, well, I want to know more. This is a new word for me. I want to know more about it. So I found some idols here on this poetrysoup.com site and I started looking through them. It's like sometimes learning you're just like a detective. You're on the trail, you've got the scent, you're not sure where it's going to lead you, but then all of a sudden it leads you to this beautiful place and you're like, oh, I'm so glad I followed that trail. And it brought me to this idyll called The First Step by Constantine P. Cafevi. Wow, Cafevi. Uh, the young poet Evmenes complained one day to Theocritus, I've been writing for 2 years now, and I've composed only one idyll. It's my single completed work. I see, sadly, that the ladder of poetry is tall, extremely tall, and from this first step I'm standing on now, I'll never climb any higher. Theocritus retorted, words like that are improper, blasphemous. Just to be on the first step should make you happy and proud. To have reached this point is no small achievement. What you've done already is a wonderful thing. Even this first step is a long way above the ordinary world. To stand on this first step, you must be in your own right a member of the City of Ideas. And it's a hard, unusual thing to be enrolled as a citizen of that city. Its councils are full of legislators no charlatan can fool. To have reached this point is no small achievement. What you've done already is a wonderful thing. Man, isn't that awesome? And that so reminds me of the standards, the Utah Visual Arts Standards 3 and 4, expressing and contextualizing. So, when you are trying to come up with meaning, just do some self directed learning, Just follow the clues, and you never know, you might come up with this profound feeling that you want to convey through your artwork. And so finally, we're at the point now where we're just going to critique. Woohoo! So here are the week 1 assignment contributions for Colorize. And since I am going to be doing this in video form, I thought I would play some music for you that was related to Veterans Day. So I'll be playing the song Thank You Soldiers, video tracks trailer from YouTube, Alfred Music home page.
joins to